This is Hot Take Hockey, the Spirit Live show that is all about the NHL. Hot takes, debates, rants, and predictions. Everything hockey. Join John, Ty, Jeff, and Mitch every Friday on Spirit Live, or let us know your hot take in the live chat as we stream live to YouTube every Friday at 5.
Yo. What's going on, guys? All right, this is the Hot Take Hockey live show. We're here with Mitch, Jeff, Ty, and myself.
What's going on?
We're going to open the show with a huge story last night. Ottawa Senators' huge 5-2 win over the Vancouver Canucks. And Bobby Ryan, who was out for 3 months, and he announced at the start of the week it was due to alcohol abuse. And he comes back Tuesday night against the Preds, 4 shots on net. He didn't put any points on the board. But then, guys, 3 goals last night, a hat trick, finishing it off with an empty netter. What do you guys think about Bobby Ryan? I think it was an insane story, the fact that his first game back at home and he puts up a hat trick.
Yeah, like you said, great story. He's a guy that's been with the franchise since, I don't know exactly the year, but I want to say like 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. So tough to see him go through an addiction like that, obviously. It's not easy, but to come back and score a hat trick in your first game back, obviously must feel nice for him, and it's a great story, obviously.
I think because he's taken so much criticism being a part of the Senators, like ever since he's been there's been high expectations. He hasn't always lived up to those expectations. So to see him have kind of like a moment like that in a comeback atmosphere was really nice. So a good story.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have seen, like, what goes on, like, what's gone on before, like, all this stuff when he was a kid. Like, there's a crazy article on Sportsnet, and, like, he's had, like, his life's basically been a movie, so I think it's great to see him go over another hurdle. That hat trick last night was pretty awesome to see. I still remember the day they, I don't know, did they trade it for him or sign him from the Ducks?
Yeah, they traded him for, it was Silverberg. He was the main piece going back to Anaheim. And I think, what you just said, and I saw it in an article and kind of talked about it. The big thing was, like, could they make like a movie or something about him? I mean, it would be kind of risky, but like,
why do you say it's risky though? What do you think?
Well, more because like it's not something that was like, I don't know, this one big moment. I guess it was something that's like super spread out, and like for a guy like Bobby Ryan, he doesn't have like this huge. I don't know. I guess it's just more complicated because it was something that started like when he was like so small. He was a child, and like he's had issues growing up, and then like now this is like something totally different. Like it might be connected. We can't assume it's connected to alcohol abuse, but anyways, we're not going to talk about that, but I just wanted to say that is one of the stories that, I mean, those are the kind of stories I love in hockey.
Yeah. It was great to see. I mean, to have that happen the same week as we get an E-Bug goalie come in and beat the Leafs.
Yeah, that was great.
It was beautiful, honestly. It's been a great week. It's been a great week
of hockey. Let's just hope that Bobby Ryan can keep it up, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
a lot of guys like, Jeff, I mean, Josh Gordon, for example, in the NFL. Like, they'll come in for a little bit, then they go back to their ways and they have those issues and they're not really able to fully overcome that hurdle. So hopefully Bobby Ryan can stay at 100%.
Yeah, he's going to get lots of opportunities on the Sens, so we'll see. But I guess just wanted to shout him out at the start of the show. It was pretty awesome to see that.
Maybe he sticks around and plays with Lafreniere next year. You never know.
Perhaps.
Stranger things have happened. He's
never
only
know.
32.
And the other big thing about that was his cap hit, right? I mean, for a while he's been considered like a cap dump if he was to get moved. I mean, $7.5 million for a guy that hasn't been producing, hasn't been putting up 25 goals like he's expected to. So, I mean, to come back and score a hat trick, to be that goal scorer for at least the first night, and we'll see. I mean, I even watched some of that Preds game. He is looking like he was like, again, it's just a 2-game sample size, but he's kind of looking like he was like 4 or 5 years ago. So we'll see. I mean, it's just a cool story to talk about. But let's jump into what we haven't been able to talk about as a group yet, the NHL trade deadline. Obviously, that was Monday, and big stream for the channel, of course.
Yeah,
and,
congrats. We didn't say it, but congrats on 10K and then some. You're at 10.5.
That was pretty crazy day for you. It was good to see. We were sitting in sports law, was it?
Yeah.
We were sitting in sports law, keeping up with the deadline. I had your stream on. It was a good time.
We were all kind of looking at each other like we were all within the same vicinity, and we're like, look at John, look at the numbers he's pulling right now. Oh, my God.
We were rooting for you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It was great. And, I loved it was like, I watched before I went to my first class of the day. It was probably, I want to say, like early on in the deadline, about the time the Marleau trade, a little before. Yeah. And you hit 10K, you go crack open a beer. I'm like, John, I'm having breakfast right now. What are you doing?
No, yeah, like 10:30 in the morning. I don't know. 10K was a long time coming. Definitely a big milestone. Shout out to Skinner in the chat, by the way, for the dono. But
huge. Yeah, congrats, buddy. But yeah, deadline was eventful compared to recent years.
It was really good. Yeah, honestly, like the first player on the TSN trade board got re-signed, which is never like necessarily a good sign. Plus, Hall got traded, the biggest piece, like a month ago or whatever, to the Coyotes. So it was kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen here? But the deals started early, and it doesn't always happen like that. So it gave them a lot to like talk about. I saw an article. TSN said that they were like trying to kind of like make their coverage a little less silly, a little less like big breaks in the middle. So I guess that helped. You know, they had contract extensions, surprising trades, like predictable trades, like things that you thought were going to happen. So it was good to see.
What trade do we want to start out? Do you want to do the Trocheck first? Because that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, we can start right. I mean, early in the morning, Trocheck was one of the first trades, and I think that was the big thing about the trade deadline is like usually we see all the trades like coming in at the end, and we did see like them kind of fall through after 3 o'clock, but there was like major trades happening in the morning.
Yeah.
The Trocheck. We can talk about the Trocheck trade.
Actually, we can do Peugeot first. Peugeot was technically like
Peugeot was the first one. Okay, so it's Peugeot to the Islanders for a first, second, and third. I think there was conditions on all three, or at least two.
But I like to trade for the Islanders. I mean, he plays a lot more of like he plays a lot like Trotz likes. You know, he's a great player. He can he's been like his whole career has been able to play all around the lineup. You know, I trust that guy kind of. If I needed him to score, I'd trust him on the third line center. I'd trust him on like the wing, anywhere up that lineup. So I got like that to lock in. And the contract actually like wasn't.
That's the part I was surprised about.
Wasn't that bad? Like I mean, I understand. I understand why the Sens didn't want to like do it because they're in a different spot. But I think the Islanders, they kind of need players like this. They have their stars. They need guys that they can slot into the lineup and help them make that push. I mean, they have, in my opinion, the best coach in the league in Trotz. So.
Nick Sullivan.
So we'll. So yeah, I think I really like a move like that. What do you guys agree?
Well, actually, I had a unique experience with the Islanders because I just saw them play live, like on I guess it was Friday. So watching them, I was like, you know, they need some offense, like they need some skill, and I think that's what he brings to their lineup. Really, outside of. I mean, you said they have some stars. I don't really know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think outside of Barzal, I don't think anybody is really like a star on their team. I think they have a solid lineup. I think they play good defensive hockey, but I think Peugeot brings like some offensive touch. The one thing I was surprised about though was the contract. Like the surprising, you don't see that very often, really in any sport where you trade for a guy
trade and sign,
and then sign him right away. I think that's kind of risky. I personally don't like that.
Well, let me say something. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to say something. It's kind of ironic. I don't know if this is like a Senators thing, like they just want to get out of Ottawa, but Mark Stone did the same thing.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Mark Stone was the last one I can think of that was like a big sign trade.
I'm not blaming it from the player perspective. I'm blaming it from the organizational perspective.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of ironic that it was two players from the same team.
Yeah.
Why do you think, though? Why do you think it's a problem? What you don't?
I just think you never know how a player's going to fit in your system. You never know how he's going to work with other players. You don't know what the personality is going to be like within your team. So even though you like him on the surface, you'd never really 100% know. I'd at least like to see him in a few games before we give him that contract personally. And I don't think you're not really taking anything away by waiting a little bit. I would still expect that he would sign the same contract, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think obviously as well for Ottawa, we talked about what New York's getting out of it, but they've got 4 first-round picks.
Good deal.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
I think they have 3, don't they?
Is it 3 or 4?
The Sharks, the Islanders,
the Islanders. Okay, yeah, maybe it's just 3, but
then they have I think they have a couple in the second and then a couple in the third, like the first 3 rounds.
But they're getting this in like the perfect draft year. Like this is such a deep draft. Like to have 3 or 4, I believe you're right. It is 3 first-round picks. Like. That can change a team a lot.
This is the deepest draft they say in a while. I mean, they've got the superstar, they've got the secondary good player, they've got the guys in the top 5 that can fill out that top 5. So it's a good year. It's a good time to be an Ottawa Senators fan, but it also isn't. Like I feel like they kind of just like want the season to probably be over, them in Detroit. Because like I saw another thing from a Detroit fan. It was like I woke up this morning and I saw the Red Wings had a game tonight, and I thought the season like ended yesterday, like after the deadline. So I think those guys are kind of ready for that lottery to hit. But anyway,
want to move on to the Trocheck?
Yeah.
Trocheck trade.
Yeah. So honestly, actually, this is maybe a hot take, but I actually think Trocheck and Pajot bring like a lot of the same things. I mean, they're both right shot centermen. They're both very hot and cold. And I mean, I just feel like in terms of what Trocheck brings, he is a bigger body, I believe. I don't know. I think I want to say Trocheck's around 6 foot. Pajot's like maybe 5'10". I don't know. Anyways, but they are very hot and cold, and I think that was the bigger thing for the Carolina Hurricanes in this trade. Like, they're getting a guy that like has the potential to be like a very, very big force, where the Florida Panthers just wanted more depth, which I don't know if the value was there.
No, this trade, I don't know what the Panthers are doing.
No, I'm getting to it. I think for sure the Hurricanes win this trade in terms of like high-end potential of what Trocheck can do. I mean, potentially he's what he is going to be, but I'm just saying in terms of like what he can do with a very good playoff team, the Carolina Hurricanes can be that. In terms of the return, Erik Haula, I mean, he had success with the Golden Knights. He had some success with the Hurricanes. Injuries were an issue. He was, again, very hot and cold with the Hurricanes. Walmark is a very good, I would say, like third-line guy. In terms of their prospects, I mean, I know the fourth guy. I always screw up this name. I think it's Louis Sterinen.
Louis Ster, yeah.
I think he's a Finn. I know he has potential, but outside of that, I mean, Prisky too, but outside of that, they didn't get, like, and I think it was the big thing when I was talking about the Erik Karlsson trade. Again, we're not, Karlsson and Trocheck, we're not talking about that. I'm just talking about in general in terms of trades, not getting, like, that quality back instead of just getting the quantity, and I think that's kind of what the Florida Panthers got here.
All right, let's be honest. This trade is like more of like, you have to look deeper into this trade to see like the real, I think, like effects of it. I mean, like on the surface level, giving up Trocheck, like who I consider like a 2C, isn't great. Obviously, when the Panthers are kind of trying to push for the playoffs, but this is like, if it isn't obvious enough, this is kind of like, is this not like an indicator that they don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year? Why would they get rid of, like, you know, this, you give up one of your key cogs going into a playoff run, and I think it's sad, especially for Panthers fans, because, like, I know John, like, you saw some of that, like, the day of it happening, people complaining and stuff. It's like, they need it, that's a market that needs a team that's going to be able to support itself, get out fans. You see what happens. I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning are like one of it's crazy there now because like they have a successful team. I don't see why that couldn't happen. Yep. It happens in Vegas. They had a successful team. It was good.
I thought this was
going to
be Florida's year to do that, where they kind of turn the tide.
And even if they can't,
even if
they're not making like a cup run or anything like that, they have Huberdeau and Barkov, two big stars who could put up 90 points together like in a season. And what are they doing? They're trading away any other type of depth they have for Erik Haula.
I think this is a lose-lose situation though, because I mean, we could be saying the same thing in terms of if they went out and they tried to acquire like a couple players, being like, oh, they're not realistically in the cup picture.
Right. Okay, well then don't acquire new players. Just don't trade away the good ones that you have that are getting you into this potential spot.
I think the idea of what they were trying to go for and trading him away wasn't a bad idea. Because,
why? Where was the good idea?
But then what they got back was the bad idea.
But where's the good idea in trading Trocheck at all?
I mean, if you actually look at the Panthers, they've done this pretty commonly. They've traded a lot of players that are like around his age, like 25, 26, and tried to acquire. Like,
and what's it done for them? It hasn't done
anything.
That's why they need to. That's why they don't.
I'm just saying, like, does it really make a difference if they had him or not? Would they be a cup contender?
Dude, it's taking out your how far out of the no, they're not cup. I've never said they were a cup contender. I'm saying
is he the difference in the attendance?
Well, dude, they just traded it to someone who's 2 points ahead of them in the wild card race. So why would you trade it to the Hurricanes who are literally fighting against you?
Maybe they just don't want to be stuck in the middle. I don't know.
Okay, then let's drop to the bottom.
That's an interesting point, though. Why are they trading like to a team that they're competing with? I mean, maybe they just think
they don't care.
Out of the
I don't think they care.
I don't know. I think try to trade him to the West, and
and I don't know.
It's a very interesting move.
That move, Setlet, was like the first like really weird one that we saw. I think like that during the deadline, doing all these things, like the one where the real puzzler, I guess I'd say.
Not every team in the NHL is trying to win.
Yeah, but they need that should be a moot point. They're 4 points out of a wild card spot.
They're not trying to be a good team. I don't know what to tell you. Why? Because they're the Florida Panthers.
Okay, well if you're gonna use their name as a reason to argue that they're not being a good team,
have they ever tried to be a good team?
Okay, well the Florida Panthers market and how much money they have to really spend is like very, I don't know. it's very in question, I would just say. But
obviously, but dude, they're all I'm saying is they didn't need to spend anything more. They could have stayed pat and still made a run for it. They literally made themselves actively
they made
worse.
the first round. And
okay, well, I'll say
What
three
place were
things.
they in at the deadline? Like, obviously they were
No,
in
same spot.
out of it.
Same
They were
spot.
the
Same spot,
closest
right?
to.
Yeah.
They were the only people that could take that I saw. Well, them and the Sabres are the only ones who could take a swipe at the third spot that the Leafs have right now, and they just brought themselves out of it. So I don't know where their logic was.
I don't think it's done. But okay, we're gonna go in general in terms of winners and losers. I just want to say this. Yeah, that Talon trading Malgin to the Leafs was like so weird. Again, it's not a significant trade, but very weird. And then I think the biggest thing for the Panthers was because that Trocheck trade happened in the morning. I think the Panthers' mindset was that they were going to go acquire a defenseman. That with that new cap space, they were going to go out and acquire a defenseman.
I think you gotta do a refresh on the stream. It shut down.
No, it's good now. It's good now. And then I think overall, after the deadline went, that's when Panthers fans started freaking out. Same with Leaf fans. I mean, Leaf fans, like, after the trade deadline passed, they were like, what is this right now? Like, we just, like, did we not make it, like, we acquired Callie Rosen? So that's kind of where I want to start. I think losers, Carolina.
Leafs.
Florida. Let's see. All right, you guys talk about the winners and losers. I'll try to refresh the stream.
Try to fix the stream.
Huge
here.
winners, Edmonton.
I'd like to do this on stream
Until they don't make the playoffs.
But
Don't make the playoffs. You gotta chill with that.
what are some other moves? What are some other moves we can?
We can quickly talk about the Penguins.
Yeah, let's
if
talk
you want.
Pens. Let's talk
I
Pens.
think I think they got better at the deadline. I mean, I saw a lot of Penguins fans not too happy about the Cahoon trade, like losing Cahoon, and I can agree with that to a certain extent.
I have a rant about this.
Let him go.
No, you can go.
Okay. So I don't want to say we. Penguins fans are mad that they traded Cahoon for a player that can play on the first line.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that logically. Is Cahoon ever going to play on the first line?
Very unlikely.
Okay, so Connor Sheary is going to play with Sidney Crosby. At least until Gensel comes back.
Yeah.
You're getting a
He
first liner.
He looked good versus
And
LA.
then you're getting another player who's going to help you now to try and push for points.
You're getting a first liner who can play on the first line with one player though. You traded away
but
someone more
can
valuable.
he not also play on the third line where Cahoon can play? Or the fourth line?
I don't know.
I think he can. I think he would.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
so
right.
I don't really get it. Like, you're never going to play Cahoon on the first line. Like, and Sheary has been pretty... He's, like, from a point perspective, he's not a huge point total guy. But I think he actually suits the team better for what they're looking for in his speed and a little bit of... He's a hard worker. Is the stream up? What's going on?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we need just Jeff over here for a sec. But
okay.
We're good. Keep going.
Anyways, you could join me in this, but I feel like the Cahoon doesn't really fit the team as well as Sheary does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why they went after Sheary, because they know what he is, and they know what he is specifically in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was great for us in those runs. And I also think we got better in terms of depth, which in a season like this, where we're getting injuries, it seems like every other day, you need more bodies, and we acquired more bodies. And I don't know, I personally like the trade. I saw a lot of people hating it.
Yeah.
The trade only makes sense if it's to the Pens, to be fair. It only makes sense to trade Sheary for Cahoon if he's going to be playing with
Sidney Crosby. Yeah.
Right?
Because he's played with him before as well, which I think is a factor in it as well, that he played for them. He's played with Crosby, and I don't know. I like the trade.
And what about Marleau?
Yeah,
I think that's great. I've always loved Patrick Marleau. He played really good
he played
versus
well
LA.
versus
Had like
the
2
Kings.
chances.
Yeah,
we can talk about that Kings game later on. But,
I feel like that was a good sign for the Penguins.
Yeah.
Like, just to see his speed still there, which I think is the main reason. We talked about it a little bit in class when it happened, but he's a guy that can play center, he can play wing, he can play penalty kill, he can play power play. I mean, he's done everything. He's been Team Canada guy before. He's a leader. He's been lows as of late, specifically on the Leafs, but I do feel like he fits what the team wants, and Matt Cullen 2.0.
Yeah, I was going to say that veteran presence when they signed Cullen in free agency. So yeah, I have Penguins as winners. I said Edmonton as winners as well.
Yeah, I can get into that. We can wait to see if we can.
This is the Draisaitl for Hart podcast.
But some other teams that kind of made a splash. I guess like some other ones. The move that I also liked, smaller move, just kind of fill it in here. Wayne Simmons going.
I hate that move.
Really?
If you're a Sabres fan?
I mean, all they gave up is like a
deadline?
5th round pick, and they're not even that far out of it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I guess if they were in the Metro, they'd be done for.
All right.
How long
But
is
they're
his
in the
contract?
free Atlantic Division.
Looks like we got the stream going
How
again,
long is
John.
his contract?
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
Wayne Simmons?
Is it like just the end of the
Anyway.
year? Because that makes a difference.
Yeah. No, it is 1 year. It's a 1 year. He signed with
And
the
it's
Jersey.
the end of this
the
year?
end of this year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I
if
like
we really
it.
want to get into winners during the deadline, I can get into the Oilers. Give me a sec. So the day started with Mike Green, obviously. Typical Oilers fashion, Mike Green gets injured for 3 weeks last night again, or 2 nights ago against Vegas, and then they bring Chris Russell back off the long-term IR along with Yamamoto, who was supposed to be week to week, but it seems like he's gonna be playing again. But anyway, so we start with the Green trade, which is decent. You could put him on the third line. I like that heading into the playoffs. He's a more experienced guy. The Oilers don't really have anyone experienced on their team. And then they go and do the Athens CU trade. John, you want to start here? You haven't said anything in a while. What did you think about the Athens CU before?
Okay, I just want to apologize, by the way. That's back-to-back shows we had where the Wi-Fi just randomly disconnects, so I don't know what's up. But anyways, Athanasiou, I think the biggest thing is I was talking to a couple of Red Wings fans, and like they wanted that first-round pick. Like it's a 30-goal scorer coming off of a 30-goal season, and the Red Wings are so bad. Like they've had that one line of like Mantha, Larkin, and Bertuzzi when they're healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Athanasiou's been outside of that. So if you look at the Red Wings as a whole, like you're talking about Filppula and like Robbie Fabry, like being like the other guys in the top 6, and those are literally like third or fourth liners max on like even an average team.
Yeah.
So how were you expecting Athanasiou to do well on a team like that? Like that's the biggest thing. I mean, worst plus minus in the league.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, yeah, it's disappointing they didn't get a first round pick, but they also got 2 seconds. I mean, why, Jeff? You thought the return was like really bad?
No. I thought the trade was fair. I liked it for both teams. The minute I heard 2 seconds, I was like, okay. I mean, I don't mind giving that up as long as we hold on to our first. And we're getting Athanasiou, who's an RFA, not a UFA, so it's not like it's a total rental. But that being said, I watched the first 2 games with Athanasiou in, and I kind of see where the minuses come from. If I'm being honest, I'd love to say everything was perfect, but I could kind of see where the minuses are coming in. He had quite the he did score in that first game off an Ennis shot, but yeah, I could see where the minuses are coming in. But he's a player that isn't really meant to be playing defensively, which is kind of worrisome if you're going to try to put him with McDavid like that. But having Ennis, who also was acquired at the deadline, which was a great move because they didn't even really give up anything, 5th round pick. So having him kind of helps out the defense a little bit on that line. But the Athanasiou McDavid Ennis line, fastest line in the league as of right, easily. Athanasiou has looked like he can keep up with McDavid. I've seen the bursts of speed. It's just kind of, I think, him getting used to playing in the setting and stuff. And it's easy for me to be critical. He's only played 2 games. We're gonna have to see if he can get more adjusted. But I mean, either way, I'd rather have Athanasiou on that first line than Sam Gagner. So plus Cassian coming back from suspension tomorrow. The lineup should fill out. I mean, it's just been a while.
When is that guy not suspended?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a wild time. But yeah, I loved the moves the Oilers made during the deadline. I mean, obviously we addressed some of our depth issues. The injury issue is still a problem. I mean, they're getting guys back quick. Like McDavid came back out of schedule. Yamamoto did, but we'll have to see where it goes. I mean, John, you mentioned earlier today that they could, who knows, they could be out of a spot or at some point here, but I don't think that'll happen. I'm confident.
Are they losers at the deadline if they miss the playoffs?
No, because they didn't even give up a first.
Yeah, and I still even think that the acquisitions they made are making them a better team. If they miss the playoffs,
this year was an extra year. Like this, at the beginning of this year, when they won that first 10 games, I was like, okay, when is this gonna end? Like I'm ready to see the basement of or at least I wasn't expecting us to be in the race and be in first place last week. So anything at this point is kind of just like it's a bonus, and we didn't give up the first. So it's like Kenny Holland went out there and said, let's see what you can do, and that's what's gonna happen.
I do like that they added to their depth. I mean, that's been the biggest flaw for the Oilers for seasons. I mean, ever since they've had McDavid, they haven't had the depth behind him. No. So that's been nice that they actually...
Yeah. So, well, I want to save that for this conversation right now. So I actually want to, in terms of just like organization here, I want to go around like each of us and like say like 3 winners and 3 losers, just in general. I'll start. Like, I think 3 winners for me right off the bat would be, I think we'll overlap, obviously, would be Edmonton, Carolina, and Boston. I think a wild card would be the Rangers, or not the Rangers. Well, I think the Rangers, actually, the fact that they re-signed Chris Kreider, they're somewhat of a winner. But I think another winner in itself could be a team like who was I thinking about again? I just drew a blank.
We can come back to you.
Yeah, anyways.
Do your losers.
But yeah, so the Rangers are somewhat of a winner for me because, they didn't do much and they just stood pat and they re-signed Kreider. Losers, I think Florida Panthers. Toronto Maple Leafs, a little bit, but I think, these 2 wins are a big statement against the Lightning and Panthers. And then I think another loser would be the Arizona Coyotes because look what they spent on Taylor Hall. They didn't do anything else. And did I mention the Boston Bruins as a winner? I said that.
Yeah,
okay. So I think about the reasoning for the Boston Bruins is because look at the deal that they made after acquiring Kasha. Like the Kasha trade in itself, losing most of that back his contract, and then after that, Heinen's just been like inconsistent. And he's kind of that style of play, and Kasha's a very much bigger upgrade. And I think you're bringing that kind of grit that you didn't get from Brett Ritchie. You sent him down, and you bring his brother in, which I think was kind of ironic. So.
Yeah, that was a tough day in the family there.
Yeah, sorry. I actually, it's kind of funny. Troy walked by. That's why I got distracted there for a second. And anyways, who wants to go next in terms of?
I can give my winners, losers, I guess.
Right.
So winners, I'd have the Islanders. I would have Carolina. I feel like we're gonna have pretty much the same.
Maybe we should go. Maybe we should go into Carolina. That was a team that was like that we haven't talked about yet. That was like pretty noticeable.
Why has the Metro got to get better every day?
Okay, so the Devils have 60 points, and then after that it just goes like 70, like 4, and then up.
If the Panthers were in the Metro, they would be in 7th right now.
That's crazy.
And they're fighting for a playoff spot in the crappy Atlantic.
Yeah,
I think
they'd be wild card in the
terrible.
Pacific. But
Like it's such a hard division to win.
If
And
the Oilers were in it, they'd be in 7th as well.
yeah.
Okay,
Good thing
so
you're not.
Mitch and
I think
Jeff,
that's just a nod to the
we've
Penguins.
talked about the winners. Yeah, we can go on about
Yeah,
Carolina.
the
But who are your
winners
losers? Who are your losers?
We talked about the Panthers. They're a loser, right?
Yeah.
Outside of that,
I think the Leafs are a loser.
Yeah, the Leafs are definitely a loser.
Yeah.
You go out
okay,
and you,
on the surface, but
No. They're trying to win Stanley Cups, bro.
you lose to a Zamboni driver that is on your pay. He's on your payroll. You pay him bi-weekly.
You could have picked him up.
Yeah. And then 2 days later you have the deadline and you say, no, let's just keep the phones quiet today.
I literally saw an article the day after that trade, and it was like from TSN. It was like, does the loss last night change the deadline for the Leafs? In one word, yes.
Yes,
What
that
did they
should have
do?
been the end of the
Re-sign
article.
Muzzin for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
So,
if anything, move a defenseman. Like, why is
How co-
Tyson
like,
Barrie still on your team?
John, this is arguably a prime, like a big year for you. Big things are expected to happen. Like, how are you feeling going into the playoffs now?
If you make
It's
it.
been a roller coaster.
Okay, well, by the way, people are getting confused in the chat for people that haven't watched the show before. Okay. In that corner, that's an Oilers fan. Over here, 2 Pens guys, okay? This isn't a Leafs fan thing, okay? Because people are getting
trust
maybe
me.
a little fired up in the chat.
Big self-proclaimed Leafs.
can go
How
after
can you
the
not
Leafs.
say the Leafs are losers?
Okay,
Can you please
I said
explain?
on the surface, the Leafs are losers, but you just said yourself, you said we can also look at the perspective of like what happens. What happens is the Leafs come out of the trade deadline and win 2 games against division rivals. So how can I say they're complete losers if they come out after
Because
the
they
trade
didn't
deadline
do anything.
and pulled? Okay, but sometimes we've seen, Mitch, that sometimes doing nothing is a win in itself.
We didn't have the luxury of being able to go on right after that Leafs game where they lost.
Oh, I would've killed for
I'm
that.
talking
That would've
about
been great.
like I said to Ty before we came in, we got to try to disconnect the past 2 games from what happened. The Leafs.
You got to look at the big
less than a
picture.
Florida for that bonehead reason got rid of Trocheck, but I don't know. You see a team there. They have a coach who's at half a season. You're going into one of their prime years. Everyone's saying fire Dubas is the new biggest thing, which is ridiculous.
They loved him
And-
not too long ago.
So I don't know. Are you confident, John? Like, what do you think as a diehard Leafs fan? Like,
And Barry's
Am I
just gonna
confident?
walk
No.
away.
like, what do you think is going to happen if you go into the playoffs with this team?
I'm not confident, no. I also think that having...
Then you're a
I mean,
loser.
last night...
Let them go.
Last night it was a mess defensively for both teams. I mean, the Panthers fans wanted a defenseman, and it was clear last night. I mean,
3-3 at the end of the first.
Strawman's way too old to be their defensive guy. I mean, he reminds me of like who?
Isn't Yandel on the?
Yeah,
on the
Yandel,
Panthers?
but you're not getting strong defensive numbers from Keith Yandel or Aaron Ekblad. I mean, when they drafted Aaron Ekblad first overall, he was supposed to be that like stud two-way defenseman,
He's
and
supposed
he's
to be
not.
like top 10 in the league.
He's not. He's not at all. The Panthers and Leafs, for sure, in the Atlantic Division are probably. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that because there was the Red Wings and the Senators, but man, the Atlantic Division defensively is probably the worst defensive division. Like that division's a mess. I mean, outside of the Bruins and Lightning, but the Leafs and Panthers. I mean, it was 3-3 after the first period. 3-3 after again, it cooled off in the second, but like 3-3 after the first period. And Bobrovsky and Anderson have been super inconsistent. Their defenses are a mess. The Leafs are without obviously Muzzin and Riley, and that. I mean, Justin Hall had the most minutes. The first two games.
Gotta
of the
bring in
trade deadline.
Marinson here soon.
Marinson played last night. And he,
did he?
And he
Oh,
embarrassed
no.
himself, man. I was going off on the stream. Marinson was horrible.
Man.
But
I
yeah,
said that one as a joke.
were the Leafs losers coming out of the trade deadline? Yeah, of course. On the surface, they were losers. They should have made a move, especially looking at these injuries now. I can't really say they're losers in general because I mean they lost to a Zamboni driver and then they got two wins. I'm saying they got 2 wins out of the trade deadline. Like, I can't be, like, pissed off right now. I am mad because, look, Muzzin went down and we don't have a defenseman because we got Kelly Rosen and no one else. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I can't be so mad right now because we got a regulation win over the Lightning and a regulation win over the Panthers. What else can I ask for?
If I was a Leafs fan,
ask
I
for
would
it.
be talking
You
about
could
that loss to Carolina for years ago. I would never
I'd be
forget
talking
it.
about what I'm doing in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
care about 2 games.
Okay, but
after the trade
everyone.
deadline.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is also the big thing. Anyone that's been a Leafs fan for a while, like, my biggest thing on social media and Twitter, like, why were people surprised? It's the Leafs. Like, no one should. I wasn't surprised. I was laughing because it's a joke. All Leaf fans that have been a Leaf fan for the last few years, like since they've gotten good, like are like freaking out. Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I get like Dangle was going off and like, but then again, like Dangle was like also saying like this is the Leafs, like classic, like.
Also,
It's the
Dangle's
Leafs.
doing it for entertainment.
Yeah,
purposes.
Dangle's also doing it for entertainment.
That guy
purposes,
popped so
exactly.
many.
It was trending number 1 overall. It was trending
That's
number
his
1
most
overall.
viewed video already on his channel, and he was like,
What?
Good for him.
he was popping
What?
blood vessel. The Leafs fan
Dangle
reacts
reaction
after.
to the
I
Zamboni.
stay away from Dangle, but
No, that one was good. My brother told me to
Doesn't
watch
talk
it, and I
enough
was
Oilers.
dying.
no, not nearly enough.
Great content.
But yeah,
I have a quick question for you about the Leafs.
Yeah.
Do you think the core 4 players? Do you think someone gets moved either in the summer or in the beginning of next season, or do you think they're staying with them?
I think they stay.
Seriously,
Yeah.
Wow.
you don't
I
think?
mean,
I think Marner.
nah, I think they stay. Look at the Lightning. They should have. I mean, they've had their core 3 guys.
Dude,
I mean,
I'm telling
what-
you, man,
The
someone's
Light-
moving in the summer,
The
whether you
Lightning,
like it or
dude,
not.
you cannot
that core's
compare, like,
not
the
there.
I'm not
Lightning-
comparing
They're
the
not where the
Lightning.
Leafs
I'm not
are.
comparing the Lightning and the Leafs. I'm comparing that they both have 4 big star forwards up front,
that are getting paid too much.
and they're getting. Well, the Leafs are getting more overpaid. I'm just saying, in general, the Leafs can make changes in the offseason, and again, this is so hot take-ish, but I'm just saying, like, there's moves they can make. Like, if they wanted, they could go out and pay for this a stud defenseman in like Pietrangelo. That's not the move I want them to make because even though Pietrangelo is one of my favorite defensemen, he's going on to 30, and that contract's going to be like Carlson Doughty, like 10 or 11 million. As much as I would love Pietrangelo in a Leafs jersey, but I'm just saying in the offseason with Barry's contract done and guys that they can trade, like whether that's a Kapanen or Janssen, whatever it is, I think they just need a couple defensemen, Anderson to be consistent.
So you're fine with trading your depth if it's for someone that a defenseman that you think can help right away.
Well, we also have prospects. I mean, the Leafs are definitely still pretty decent in the prospect pool. I mean, people think Jeremy Bracco is like this scrub. He's going through, I don't know what's going on. No one's talking about this. We're not going to go into it too much into the show. This is a weird one, guys. Care. Like he was just kind
So
of.
it's not an injury thing.
Maybe
It's,
it
like
was
It's
an
not. It's
attitude
personal
or-
reasons. They labeled it as personal reasons.
You gotta
why
be
he's been
careful.
out.
The last thing the Leafs need is any more drama queens on that team, man. For real.
So,
You
yeah,
can agree-
so
everyone can agree with that.
If
right?
Bracco turns into like a Josh Hosang or like what's his name in the Ranger, again, that's a different scenario. Elias Anderson, but like Elias Anderson's for different reasons. I don't know.
Fair enough.
We'll see. But yeah,
Only
winners and
time
losers.
will
We
tell.
talked about it. we kind of talked about the Metro race, but let's get into it like more now. Okay, so we got Pens fans in the room right now. Again, you can. Yeah, okay, so it's right here. Yeah. Capitals, Penguins, Flyers, Islanders, Blue Jackets, Hurricanes, Rangers. It's only a 10-point gap from first to seventh.
Man. Yeah.
It's a Metro.
You talk about a close division. Yeah, no, like for me and Mitch, we're just like, oh, it's just another season.
Another year, you got some good teams in there. I'd say out of my top three that I'm wanting to put in the playoffs here, Caps, Pens easily. So what is that? Just fighting for the last? Are we fighting for the last spot here?
Well, I mean, the Flyers and the Islanders.
I think the Islanders will take that third spot.
Up by a point.
Yeah.
And they played the same amount of games. They both played 63.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's Columbus, but also the Hurricanes are only they're 5 points back here. They're 5 points back at that division spot. So
and they got better at the deadline too.
I think they'll probably. Yeah, I don't know. I still feel okay about the Flyers. The Flyers did a lot of work this offseason with Hayes. They have like that crazy Hayes record where he's like 15-0-1 whenever he scores, which is just like really weird and like random. But they did a lot of the work in this summer. I think I'd be confident putting them into that third spot. But also the Islanders, like I said, I think Trotz is the best coach in the league. So I don't know.
Agree to disagree, but I mean,
I think we're getting a Penguins Flyers first round, Mitch.
I would hope so. I'd rather play the Flyers. I'm combining them. Team. I'd rather play the Flyers than I would the Islanders, just because it's a more entertaining series. Like those are always
more
great.
Open
That's
hockey,
interesting.
Which helps the Penguins.
Yeah. And I don't know, the Islanders scare me. I mean, maybe it's just PTSD from last year. I just have nightmares of getting swept, but I'm not too sure.
They play that defensive style where it's just everything. Like with the Flyers, it's like I said, more open hockey. So it's more based on skill and speed. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, the Penguins are going to win that battle. But when you have to play the Islanders, it becomes physical and gritty and just like...
They don't want to play that type of game.
Well, I mean, the Penguins can play it, but it's not going to be as easy as playing the Flyers.
Yeah.
Who do you... John, the Leafs fans, you're not really going to get to pick, but who do you think you're going to end up going against in the playoffs?
That's what I was kind of just going to say. So if I could go, I would go
I just kind of want to get into this because I saw playoff previews popped up on the Score app is like one of the things you can sort by now. So we're like really hitting that season.
I want to play the Lightning.
But anyway, go on.
I'm not going to spoil on stream my predictions because that will be for a video, but just a couple matchups I could see. I mean, I kind of want would be Penguins, Flyers, and Leafs Lightning. Again, Leafs Bruins is whatever, but I just think Leafs Lightning is going to be like.
So you'd rather play Tampa than Boston?
I would if I was
you want to.
No, I agree with that. I'm just making sure that's what you're saying.
The Blue Jackets left off.
Yes, I mean, you know what? It scares me in a different way because if you're looking at it, something crazy is going to happen. If Leafs and Lightning were to face each other in the first round, whoever loses that first round is going to go through a huge turnover in the offseason. Like huge.
Like trading Mitch Marner?
Yeah, like insane. No, but what if the Lightning lose? Who are they trading? What if the Lightning lose? Who are they trading?
They're going on vacation and they're coming back in October to play again.
They did that last year.
And they'll do it again.
Okay, but that was one. Okay, the Penguins. Should the Penguins have see you later, Malkin, because we got swept by the Islanders?
No, because they've won the Cup 3 times in the last 10 years, John.
But the Lightning.
It's not 1967 anymore, right?
Okay, but the Lightning have just gotten a lot of their guys. They're still young. Like we were talking about Malkin and Crosby. That's why I'm saying it's different scenarios. Malkin and Crosby are well into their 30s.
Yeah.
All these guys, except for Stamkos, are in their 20s. Okay, but Braden Point, look how young he is. Victor Hedman's still very young. Mm-hmm. I mean, mid to late 20s now. Like, give them a couple years. So I'm saying for the Leafs and Lightning, there will be a lot of change, but that would just be an insane first-round match. So I'll say that. I'll say
no, that's fair.
I think two great matchups would be
the Lightning,
Leafs.
Lightning got a lot to prove, though.
Jeff, don't get me wrong. I would love the Leafs to play the Bruins and lay a beating for sure. But I'm just saying,
you don't want to play that. You don't want to be in TD Garden.
Yeah. Fair enough. I guess it's picking the lesser of the two evils. I guess in that sense.
Exactly.
Well, if we want to go back to the Metro for a minute, we can talk about the Penguins' 4 straight losses. I don't know. We said we were going to touch about that, but like,
I don't care. Like,
yeah, no, and neither do the players. That's what I want to talk about.
Losses, then I'm like,
you don't care about.
I don't even think it's 8 losses. I think if you lose to the Ducks tonight, you're like, okay, and then if they lose their next game, it's like,
they're only one
on.
Point ahead of the Flyers.
But they're only 2 points or 4 points behind the Capitals, and they have 2 games behind them.
Would have been nice if we got that win on Sunday. It was a close game.
Yeah.
But I
yeah,
mean,
the Capitals aren't going to start dropping points out of nowhere, so
No.
you can't like suspect you're going to make up huge ground on them. You got to be worried about the teams below you.
But if I'm doing math correctly,
Jeffers.
What?
if I'm doing math correctly,
Let's pull back here a little bit.
Pull it
The
back.
Penguins have 2 games
in
hand on the Capitals, and they're only 4 points back.
And we
I don't
play
think
them
the Caps.
once,
I don't think the
twice,
Caps are
once,
going to
twice.
start. The Caps
John.
aren't going to start randomly dropping games and giving the Penguins a free.
We're not talking about
Hey,
randomly losing games.
I'm not
Stop,
very
stop
good
the
at
yelling
math.
and just figured.
I'm not very good at math here, John, but you could correct me if I'm wrong. If the Penguins win 2 games,
It's tied in the Metro.
It's tied,
at the
correct?
top. Yep. Your math
Yeah,
checks
you're
out.
not.
I
You're
just
not.
did
Okay,
it. Did it.
okay, you understand basic math, but I'm talking about skill of a team. The Capitals
Okay.
have a good enough team where they're not going to start dropping points for
No,
you guys
I-
to make
I
up
agree,
ground.
100%.
I don't care if they have 2 games in hand; they're 4 points back. I'd be more worried about you dropping 4 games in a row when you have the Flyers, the Islanders, who are 1 and 2 points back of you, rather than you catching a team 4 points
Flyers
ahead of
for the
you,
division,
Who's gonna
let's
be
see
way,
it.
Who's way better than those teams?
I'm not panicked.
Okay, you don't have to panic, but
No,
I'm
I
just,
don't
I'm
think
just
anyone should
saying,
be
like,
panicking.
I'm,
They've also played more games than the Penguins.
All right, Jeff. Let's see your panic on stream right now.
I've got
Oilers.
no panic. Like I said, I've got
Oilers
no
are
panic.
missing the playoffs.
Why would I have panic? They're tied
Done.
for the second right now. And before you come in here with statements that make no sense, let me tell
Why
you.
does it make no sense?
I love having Mitch and Jeff beside
Because
each
you're
other.
you're not. If you're gonna say the Oilers aren't making the playoffs, give me a reason.
They're not good enough.
Yeah, all
Oh.
right. Yeah, great hockey analysis.
You guys want to bring
my
this down
right
to
here.
a 3-man show?
Yeah, great.
I mean,
I love
well,
to
let's do
I
your
love to be
argument.
interrupted.
Well, the Flames are 1 point behind them, so technically the Flames could just jump them.
Yeah, now let's talk
Oilers
about,
have a game in hand in that situation.
Now let's talk
though.
about the players who are on the teams. I think the Oilers definitely have a stronger, when healthy, the Oilers definitely have a stronger team than the Flames. And before you interrupt me and say nothing, let me just tell you, we're missing also our we're missing our number 1 D-man right now,
When are
the
they
guy
coming
who's
back?
turning around the team in the next 2 weeks.
All right, well, within those 2 weeks.
We're getting back to the 2 weeks
and Mike
argument.
Green went down too, right?
Mike Green went down for 3 to 4 weeks, yeah, but we're also
Boom.
getting...
There wasn't an Athanasiou injury scare, but he's
Yeah,
you
he's
told
good.
me
He's
earlier.
playing
All I'll
tomorrow.
say is you're lucky you're in a very weak division.
And all
That's
I'll say,
I'll say.
is stop interrupting and let me prove my point.
Why are you so sensitive?
Because
Whoa.
I gotta tell you, I don't understand. I don't see. We gotta talk about the skill of these teams. We have a game in hand on the Nucks. Considering you're talking
Yeah.
about the games in hand so much, the Golden Knights, though, to be fair, I'll be honest. I think the Golden Knights will probably take the division, the Pacific, over the Oilers. I saw them last night, and they were looking lethal. And like all they did at the deadline was add a goalie who can play if Fleury starts to struggle. So I do think. I don't know if we're good enough to take over the Golden Knights there, but I think playoffs are like definitely the Nucks, the Flames, the Coyotes. I'm confident playing any of those teams fighting for a playoff spot. That's why I'm saying, I'm fair. And you said you were confident in the Penguins, so it's the
Yeah.
same thing. I mean, I don't know.
I
Like
agree
said.
with you with the Golden Knights. I think they're the most
Yeah,
talented team
they
in the
are.
division. I feel like we've been saying this for 3 weeks, doing this.
And you get a
show.
solid backup now at the deadline. We didn't touch
Yeah.
on that, but Leonard, who is like 1/5 of him, is owned by the Leafs now. So congratulations, John. You own his left arm.
Yeah.
What? I don't understand that deal.
What do you-
I mean, we don't have to get into it, but like,
No, dude,
why are they retaining that salary?
Because they got a 5th-round pick. It's just basically dead cap for them because they didn't make a move. So that's just a little extra salt in the wound for Leaf fans because like that's the cap that they could have got if they made a trade, right?
Oh, I was
So,
loving that on Twitter.
We got a 5th-round pick. Let's go. Okay. Anyways, let's go back to the Metro. Okay. Quick fire. Rangers, are they making it?
wild card.
Mitchie.
No, they're not making it.
Rangers.
Jeffers.
Both
Jeff.
wild cards are. I'll tell you right
Um,
now. Both wild cards are going to be from the Metro.
Oh,
Duh.
I agree.
I'd say no.
It's
going to
be Rangers. Rangers, and I want to say Philly, and then the Islanders
What
get
is
the
it
third
right
spot.
now?
And the Islanders get 3rd.
Yeah.
What
What is the wild
How
card?
crazy would that be if the Rangers
Blue Jackets.
make this big comeback and Islanders miss?
I think the
Like in New
Hurricanes
York.
have a better
Islanders
chance than
miss
the
straight up,
Rangers.
like
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
even get a
I
wild
agree.
card.
Miss straight up.
I agree the Hurricanes have a better chance than the Rangers right here.
Okay, well,
Really?
we're just talking.
Well, the Rangers have won 5 straight. I don't know if that's kind of like
Okay,
playing
so Blue,
with my mental
so
a
Blue
little
Jackets
bit,
are
but they
done?
look
I
good.
mean, if they could
I
continue
don't.
to win.
I'm not that confident in the Blue Jackets. What do you think, John? You probably watch a little more than me.
I mean,
I
they've had
agree
way
with
too
that.
many injury issues.
14 overtime losses this season. So they're picking up points, but it's not like they're scorched earth in here, like
Yeah.
making a playoff run.
I mean, yeah,
By the way,
they
we
just
have
had
like
way
6
too many
minutes
injury
left,
issues.
just so
Yeah.
everyone knows.
Okay, let's finish off. with good old it's been the theme. It's been the theme of the
Hart
show.
Trophy?
Good
Is that
old
what
Hart
we're talking
Trophy.
about?
Favorite guy,
Why don't we just have a good time? Finish off with Hart Trophy.
Can I start it off?
Yeah, start it off.
I mean, so we were just talking about the Rangers, and I'm trying to pull up his stats here, but Panarin, yeah, if the Rangers can get into a playoff spot, I don't know how you can look at anyone else, because that guy is keeping the team afloat. Like without, he's had such a good season.
If they go on like a 10-game winning streak, like they might have to, then he becomes the Hart, right?
Yeah.
No?
Okay, but
Am I the only one that thinks
Nathan
this?
McKinnon 40-point gap to the next guy? No.
Yeah.
Doesn't Panarin have something similar? Like we looked at his 30
I think it's
points?
like 20. If you check Ranger stats, it's like 23 points. It's 23 points to Zibanejad, his line mate. So it doesn't. I mean, that says it in itself. The guy that's literally on his line, the next best guy on the Rangers, is still 23.
But what
points
about
less.
the guy that has 99 points, guys?
Jeff?
No one comes to mind.
Hey,
I don't know who you're
let's give
talking
it tomorrow night, and we'll probably see him
Okay,
at 100.
my big thing. I said this at the start of the or before the show. Sorry, McDavid has 6 less games played. And has 12 less points. And McDavid's been averaging in around, 1.5, 1.4, 1.3 points per game.
Yeah.
Adding the fact that he's going to probably, in those 6 games if he played, I know it's like he didn't play those games, but if he played those games, he probably would get, 8 points in 6 games?
Yeah.
Is that realistic
That's
for McDavid?
That's fair for McDavid. You can go
Only
with that.
4 points back of Draisaitl. By the way, Draisaitl has a minus 11. I know we're not going to talk about points plus minus, but he's also a minus 11. And McKinnon and
What's
Panarin?
Panarin? Isn't Panarin's like nuts?
Panarin's plus minus is like
Okay,
30.
let's,
Yeah,
37.
37
Okay,
plus minus.
let's not talk about points then. You just said you didn't want to. Let's talk about the record they have with McDavid out. 3-2-1. They were in first. They bumped them into first place at the
They
start
also
of the
didn't
week.
have a
They finished
crazy
in
hard.
second.
Yeah, what was that?
One game above 500?
No, that
Without
still says something to
without your best
Draisaitl.
player. Yeah, without your best player.
Okay, so
and-
they basically went 500.
It's like when Crosby was out, Malkin stepped up to the plate, and we said we would see what Draisaitl did, and I mean, you go 3-2-1, I think you said, but it's not terrible.
Jeff, you're
And
basically
Draisaitl
saying
played well
that
in
the
those
Oilers
games
would
as
have
well.
had to lose 4 or 5 of those games for Draisaitl to be like, he's done with the Hart. They still lost 3 of those 6 games.
No, I'm just saying I can pull up the text from 2 games into that when you said I'll make a video saying that Draisaitl was deserving of the Hart.
Exposed. This man's got receipts.
And then what
Yeah,
happened?
he
and
can
then
show
what
the text.
happened?
I told him.
And
He's got a screenshot.
And then what happened since that day? They won another game. They pushed Boston to overtime, a game which is Draisaitl. McDavid comes back. Draisaitl keeps scoring. He doesn't score last game, but he has 2 off the post. Like, he's not slowing down. He's not playing on McDavid's line. The Oilers are still winning. McKinnon, the point gap, I do have to agree with you, because the point gap I always found that, like, you got to award it to the most valuable player to their team. But I don't know. I just like. It's also you gotta award it on a lot of things. You gotta award it on the best player of the team. I think Draisaitl's had a huge jump in production this year. He showed he can lead a team without McDavid, something he's never done. He hasn't done since the 2017 playoffs. So I think you gotta take, if you're gonna be taking in like injuries to Rantanen and that stuff that affects the Avalanche and who's around McKinnon, you gotta also take into effect like the other little things that happen to affect Draisaitl's stock. But I don't know. Still, we got a few more weeks. I think this debate will just keep revving up until the Hart winner is crowned.
Are we still going to be doing the shows or the show when
Most likely.
when the awards come around? Because that would be great.
Well,
I don't know.
We're still in.
Awards, not awards.
Oh wait, no,
No.
definitely not.
But what I was going to say just
start of
quickly,
playoffs.
someone said in the chat, okay, Panarin is that good. 87 points in 62 games?
I believe so. Yep.
On
And
the Rangers.
And on the Rangers. Like, Panarin's that good.
That's what I'm saying. If they
And how
make
good
the
were the
playoffs.
Rangers last year?
And we've been talking about Panarin. I just want to say this, and I did text Jeff and I said, I watched that Oilers game. Draisaitl went off for like 3 or 4 points. We have last minute, and I just want to close out saying this. I'm going to make a video, but Draisaitl is for sure in the conversation to be nominated. I don't know. I think he's in the conversation to win, but I think more nominated because I think if you combine the fact that Panarin and the Rangers were not supposed to be in the playoffs at all, and now they're, 5 points out?
Yep.
And now you're talking about McKinnon, a 40-point gap. So
My final statement 2 weeks ago when I threw this out there that McDavid or that Draisaitl could win the Hart, I was called a scorching hot take, and now John is saying he could see him winning. So thank you very much, Draisaitl. All right, Mitch.
Final 20 seconds here, boys.
Nominated. I'll say nominated.
Nominated. All right. Well, we'll have to see.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah. Sorry for the technicalities there earlier.
We'll have it ready next week.
Shouldn't happen
I
yet.
don't know why
it's
it does
just
that.
building Wi-Fi, but
All right.
Yeah.
Love y'all. Peace.
All right, see ya.
We'll see you tonight. Peace.